Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Woodstock, Georgia, it's time for Cherokee Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Welcome to Cherokee Business Radio. Stone Payton here with you this morning. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Alma Coffee, sustainably grown, veteran-owned, and direct trade, which of course means from seed to cup, there are no middlemen. Please go check them out at myalmacoffee.com and go visit their Roastery Cafe at 3448 Holly Springs Parkway in Canton. Ask for Leticia or Harry and tell them Stone sent you. You guys are in for a real treat this morning. Please join me in welcoming to the broadcast KSU CARE Services Director over at Kennesaw State University, Miss Marcy Stidum. Good morning, sunshine. How are you?
Great. How are you doing?
I am doing great. So delighted that we're going to get a chance to visit and do want to dive into a number of topics, and I have some specific questions. But before we go there, would you just give us a little bit of an overview, mission, purpose, what you and your team are trying to do for folks?
So the goal of CARE Services is to help students who are facing difficulties while in college, or students who are in high school who want to come to college. We want to support those students with financial support, emotional support if we can, but then also make sure they have the nutritious food and a place to sleep. Because the students we bring into KSU are students who are homeless, foster care, or dealing with food insecurities.
It never occurred to me until we booked this interview, and I did a little bit of background reading, that a student might be homeless. I guess I never understood that. Can you say more about that and how that even gets to happen?
So it happens in a couple of ways. We call it generational and situational. So generational students are those who are homeless in high school. So there are students right now in Georgia. Across the country, over 2 million students are homeless in high school or in K through 12. And those students are capable, smart, able, and they do well in school and want to break the cycle of poverty. And to do that in these days and times, you need at least an 18-month certificate or a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree to do that and to make a living wage. Those students come to us right now. We have over 20 students right now that have been recruited to KSU who are homeless or foster care, and they really dream to be at Kennesaw State University. Also, for those foster care youth, what happens after age 18 is in most states, thank goodness Georgia has fixed that, but in most states they age out. So at 18, they're completely out. They can drop out of foster care and have to re-up themselves back into it if they want additional sports till they're 26. Most do not. And so then what happens is
most do not drop out and re-up. They just
drop out. And then there's a high correlation between they become homeless between the ages of 18 to 26. So that's why we're focusing on those two populations. And so once they come to us, we help them get to and through KSU and focus on what they need to do and the supports that they need. But they need a lot. They need a lot of they've missed a lot of parenting moments. So they need a lot of support and they need a lot of guidance. But then we have the students, once they get around junior, senior year, they start taking flight and they become little amazing things. But it is, they are teenagers and when, they're 18 and they're just learning a lot. And I never forget one student who was homeless because both of her parents were incarcerated. When she walked in my door at my office, and I never forget, she locked a Barbie doll. She just looked like a Barbie doll. She was so beautiful. But she had two parents who just were, incarcerated for life, one on death row. And she just looked at me and she said, "I'm just tired of working. Can I just be a kid?" And I had to talk to her about like that. I said, "You still got to keep struggling and keep fighting." I said, "But you'll have at least somebody here with you every step of the way." But then there's situational students. So we have students who become homeless because for a while there had a whole pattern of just parental death. Parents were dying. And they thought they had a plan, and the people who were managing their wills said, "We'll pay for tuition and books." Well, that's not all that's it costs for college anymore. So she had a wonderful Toyota Camry, and she was living in it.
Oh, my.
So that's how I met my first student who was homeless because of a situation. And then different things. It's been weird things where their parents say, hey, especially right now, parents are saying, hey, I've got my own bills and struggles. You're on your own. Then there's a phenomenon that happens where the parents may not value education and say, well, now you're 18, you're an adult, I'm done. So different situations occur, and my program is here to help and catch them.
Now, tell us a little bit about your backstory. What got you here?
I'm a social worker. I always start with that. So professionally, I started out, got my master's in social work and then a master's in public administration from Valdosta State. Ended up for about 10 years being in senior level management, and for most of that time was a county manager for mental health in Carroll County and in Heard counties. And then just wanted to switch things up, came to KSU almost 11 years ago, eventually became the associate director of our counseling center. But I was over our case management program, which is focused on high risk, high need, severe persistent mental illness students. So my job was to make sure we didn't have basically a Virginia Tech. And so that was what I was hired with. And that was my specialty, my bread and butter, working with students who were homicidal, suicidal, schizophrenic, and or had exacerbated eating disorders and different things like that. But then through that program, I met my first homeless student, and I was shocked. I was like, there was what in college?
Yeah, no, it's counter. It's like cognitive dissonance, right? It's counterintuitive that those two things don't fit in the same frame for most of us.
No, it doesn't. So I always tell people, I get it. But when I met my first student, her name was Penelope, and she changed my life because I was very focused on mental illness. That was like I said, it was my bread and butter. But almost over 2,000 students later.
Wow.
Here we are.
That has got to feel so good. I don't mean to suggest for one moment that it does. It's not just fraught with challenges, but to work with a kid and watch them navigate that whole path successfully, boy, that's got to feel good.
Oh gosh, yeah. I've got students now who I had the first day they arrived in tears, who are now alum, and it's a proud mama moment. You feel like a proud mama. Yeah, it's special.
So the challenges that most anyone might face early in their academic career at college, or maybe even late in their college career, I'm thinking maybe those are all magnified a little bit for your kids. Yeah, like the same core challenge. There's like this magnification factor. Yeah. Yeah.
They don't have mama. They don't have daddy. They don't have anybody. And so many of them end up calling me mom or auntie. But yeah, it is magnified because they don't have anybody to go back to, or there's all this stuff that is a distrust of the system, especially if you come out of foster care. You're like, well, how soon are you going to get out of my life? Because everybody comes in and out of my life, especially in foster care. Right. And they are surprised when we stick around and we're in it with them and we fight with them. There's been some knuckleheads along the way, but I would say 98% of them have been awesome.
So let's get a little more granular, a little more tactical here. So what does happen? How does the individual get on your radar? And then, if you don't mind, just kind of walk us through the evolution of the process.
So right now I'll tell you about my high schoolers because we're in the season of recruitment. So their high school homeless liaison, because there's a law for that. There's not one for college. There's a federal law for that, where there's a homeless liaison or an LEA, which is for foster care, in every school system across the country that's publicly funded. So they reach out to us. And we've got one in one county. She's so funny. She'll say, I've got 10 of them graduating. Let's see who we can get to KSU because we know you'll take care of them. But she also knows that we'll play the traffic cop and go, this student may not be as successful here, but doggone it, Rebecca at Dalton State's doing a great job, or Lisa in Columbus State is doing a great job. So we'll help traffic direct them to where, they'll be the most successful, because that's in the goal. But they'll get referred to us, and then for those students, we are working with them right now. They're still in high school. So we're trying to make sure, did you do your application? Did you get your FAFSA? We're doing all the mama nagging stuff. Did you fill out this? Did you fill out your scholarship application?
Because they don't have that in their lives. Of course, we rolled our eyes as kids when mama did that, but when you don't have that in your life, right. Wow.
Yeah, so we're doing all the nagging. But then we have our program for all these benefits we provide to the students. It is all from donor funds. So we use donor dollars to pay for orientation fees. So we do that for our students as they're coming in. Then to get on campus in the housing, you have reservation fees for housing. That didn't exist when I was in college, but it exists now. So we pay those reservation fees. So before those kids who we are recruiting from high school get to KSU and sit in the class for the first day, each of them we've spent almost $1,000 just to get them to the door. But then for those students, we actually bring them in a week early. We started that during COVID, which was not the plan, but is what we did. But during COVID, we started our Ascend program, and we bring them in a week early. And some move off campus. We always encourage on campus, but it's their decision. They have different housing options they can pick from, but we also now have a housing option. And so they can move on our Marietta campus. Starting this semester, this fall, we'll actually go from one 12-bedroom house to two 12-bedroom houses that sit right together.
Nice.
And they can move in there, and we move them in early. And that reason why we move them in early is that could be a sad first day. Yeah. We had one student who moved in from foster care last year, and her foster home didn't let her take anything with her. So she came with nothing. So we had to make sure, and so we had to go in our reserves, get pillows, blankets, sheets, jammies, everything you can think of, toothbrush. And so we move them in, but we get them adopted too. So we get them adopted, and so we get all their wishes, what they need. So laptops are popular, different things like that. But also what we do is most of the kids that we recruit, their financial aid paperwork is completely wrong or messed up, or they need a lot of things from the IRS to say, yes, I am independent and I didn't file. So they need a letter from the IRS to say that. Wow. So we work that week with financial aid and get things right. And then also tell them, hey, there are jobs on campus. Let's start talking to people, getting jobs on campus. So that way, when they move in, and by the time everybody else moves in the next week, they're on the same playing field as best as we can. We've shored their foundation up as much as we can. And then they stay with us, and it's communal living. So, and then they get case managers that work with them through our Master of Social Work program, who help them plan and come up with making sure they're successful. And we're hoping to one day get it to a point where we can have more help with them on their academics, because like you said, it's hard dealing with everything else plus this. Mm-hmm. And then you got academics on it, and then it takes a minute sometime to get them to going. But most students, it does.
Really? You've got a good track record, it sounds like.
Yeah. So we see them flourish.
That's encouraging.
After 1 or 2 semesters, we start seeing them flourish, and we see our retention and graduation numbers every year go up.
Wow.
So we're excited. But then if the student is already at KSU, they can just go on our website, and they can click a button, schedule an appointment. I
didn't think about that. Maybe that was not my situation when I came to KSU. Mm-hmm. Now I'm kind of hitting my stride, and life hits me in some fashion. This resource is also available.
Right. They can just click a button on our website, schedule an appointment, or if they don't want to meet with us, they can click a button and just go shop in the pantry twice a month. With our free food pantry. But if they meet with us and our case managers, and we see, oh, wow, you are going through some stuff, then that's when we give them gift cards and rental assistance. They can go shop in the pantry as often as they need, once a day, every day, as we say.
Wow. So you used the term adopted a moment ago, but you're not meaning adopted in the traditional sense, or are you?
No, I mean, adopted in a sense for us is their Santa wishes, or their graduation wish, or their this is what I need to help me move in wish. So we do those about 3 times a year. And we a whole college, like the College of Business, could adopt 3 or 4 students.
Got it.
Yeah.
And are you finding that people in the business community, as they become aware of this, are you finding that sometimes they want to get involved and try to help?
Yeah, it's been really cool. We had some luxury custom airplane people.
No, wait a minute. Now it's time to adopt Stone. And I had a dream and fairy tale childhood, but I think maybe I want to get adopted now.
But yeah, it was so cool. They wanted a student who was going to go into business school. And we had a student, and they adopted him for a year. They said, can we adopt him for the year? And they gave him birthday gifts, and they brought his Christmas wishes, his move-in wishes. So it's cool. We love to see where people can partner with us. And, sometimes they, don't adopt a student, but they may do a food drive and give to our pantry. Any of that works. We always figure out ways that is meaningful to them, but beneficial to our students as well.
All right, but this whole thing, donor funded. So your energy, or someone on the team, or someone out at KSU, someone or some folks are putting their attention toward talking to business, talking to individuals, talking to folks. I guess part one is is educating, like you are me and our listeners today, right? Just helping us understand what not only the challenge, but maybe some of the opportunities to try to plug in.
Oh yeah. So a lot of the time it's me, Laura, who's here but quiet today, and
we turned her mic off.
or Karen. They helped me beat the pavement. Like we were, a couple years ago, the Marietta Country Golf Club does a fundraiser, and so we were one of their beneficiaries, and so that was a great year, and it got our name out. But it's a constant grind for me to get out there and figure out what are new opportunities, where are new moments. Like I told you earlier about with High Road Ice Cream that you interviewed before.
Aren't they just great folks? Schroeder, to everybody in that entire organization. I mean, they're just good people.
They're good people. And it starts from the top. When I met him, I was like, so it starts from the top. He has a beautiful heart, and his heart, but he wanted to do something. And I said, kids like treats. Kids like ice cream. Just give us ice cream, And so it's the things where that's meaningful to them, but people may not think it's a big thing, but it's huge for us. So there's a way, but it's me getting out all the time, representing our students. Sometimes my students join me because they're so passionate, but I always make sure they're on the other side of it. I'm like, when you're in the fight, you need to focus on the fight. But when we're on the other side, you can join me. But so I have one this summer. He's getting ready to graduate. And he said, CARE has done so much for me. Can I be an intern this summer?
Oh, wow.
So he's going to finish his last semester as our intern because he was like, I want to give back the way you've given to me. So it's cool.
That's fantastic. And I bet you're finding more and more of that as the program matures and you enjoy that success rate that you talked about. Those folks that have enjoyed the benefits of this, they want to turn right back around and help the next person, don't they?
Oh gosh, yeah. They're always figuring out how they can. I have another one. She's going to graduate in December. She's actually a Fulbright scholar, and that's huge. So I was like, we have a Fulbright, and it was so funny. I got to say, so what does it all really mean? So, but she's getting ready to go to medical school. She'll be our second one going to medical school and different things like that. And so, but she's already talking about how she wants to help, she wants to help as an alumni. And she's going to be she's going to probably be that one who just is going to, keep coming back. And so, but even one of the professors, he's a dean, he knows she's going to Chicago. And so he bought her her graduation wish list was coats and gift cards so she can get tires for the car. And so they actually bought her snow tires.
That's fantastic. She's going to need them, right? Hooked up that way.
Yeah, because I told her, I said, I'm a Southern Belle. I can't help you.
So what are you finding the most rewarding? What do you enjoy the most about the work?
When I see them live their dream, whatever it is. That's all that matters. Whatever your dream is. And so, like, we just had one, he's living his bakery dreams. He was a football player at KSU. But most people don't realize a lot of the athletes aren't scholarshiped. And so now he's graduated, and he's got his food truck. It's successful. Baby. He's out there, and I mean, he has the best Oreo cheesecake in God's green earth. But to live their dreams, whatever it is, and be successful at it. So we've got some doing food truck. One is in the Leadership Academy with Caterpillar in Texas. So they're everywhere now, but that's what the success is for me. But then it's also success when they bring me their grades, and they're proud of those A's and those B's and that hard C or whatever. And you just see them beaming, and I, just like I do for my daughter, I beam for them because I'm mom saying I'm proud of you. So
right. So we touched on it very briefly, but the COVID situation, the pandemic, I got to believe that's having some kind of impact on your operation. Is it? And how are you choosing to work through it?
Yeah, so CARE has 4 programs. The main one I've been talking about is our KSU CARES, but we also have a high school program across the state called, it's a federal grant called Gear Up Georgia for homeless and foster care high schoolers. And then we also run our AmeriCorps Vista program, which is volunteers coming on campus and really helping us do our stuff at a very intentional level. But then the 4th program is our newest program, is emergency assistance. That's programmed for any KSU student who's having an unexpected financial hardship. So March 13th of last year, you can imagine we had a lot of people all of a sudden starting having some difficult issues. And
even people who might have had reasonably sustainable support systems, that could have fallen apart in March, April, May, June last year, right?
Yeah. Because most students are in the retail and restaurant industry. And
man, they got hit hard.
Still struggling.
Yeah.
And so we get those requests. And so students were losing their jobs left and right. And we're like, I can't pay rent. So a program that the year before, when we first started, we were so proud to serve like 80, 85 students. Since March 13th of last year, we've served over 500 just in emergency assistance. And that's because the bottom fell out for them, basically. And so you had families, it was everything. So we were dealing with it. So we were working, pretty consistently, almost 6 to 7 days a week there for a while, just trying to deal with the influx. And then the stimulus funding has helped, but it's still the things of just learning how to just manage finances and budget and just so we're working on some projects with Coast College on that. But just really just dealing with that. But then for the students on our KSU CARE side with the homeless and foster care kids, those students, they got hit because they couldn't find jobs. We were so used to being able to find them a job, and so we just couldn't find them anything. So it's been hard, and then they didn't have anywhere to go. So KSU, thank God, did not move all the students out. We always, at the lowest, I think we had 150, 175 kids still staying on campus. So our pantry didn't stop. We worked with our campus police. We made sure campus police became our satellite pantry where they could get to the food, and we had to deal with them because, it was interesting. It was many days of tears and just kind of like, okay, so yesterday we knew this, but today we know this. Now we know this. So just constantly retrying to figure out how to do it well, and do it right when you didn't know what tomorrow would bring.
Well, I got to tell you, one of the things that makes me find this entire story and your work so compelling, and you mentioned it early in the conversation, this idea of breaking the cycle. You may have even called it the poverty cycle. I don't know, but that's what I thought of when you were talking, as opposed to just a quick hit. But the kind of work you're doing, when you get involved in this fashion, you are genuinely breaking the pattern.
Yes.
And sometimes to tremendous effect.
Yeah, they grow up in a system that is just, if you don't break out of it, you just continue to cycle in, cycle. And so that's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do, and what I teach because I have mostly student workers, I teach them, I say, when we teach them these skills, we've got to make sure that we understand what they need and teach them the foundational stuff. So if that's how to budget, if that's teaching how to take a refund check of, maybe you got your loans and you got $5,000. Okay, that sounds like a lot of money, but that's got to take you from January to June, because that's when the next refund check comes. When you think about that, most people can't live off that. That's 6 months. That could, you got to pay rent. You got to maybe pay for your gas. You may have utilities, different things like that. So you've got, and there's no splurging. So you've got to have those kind of things. So we're teaching them skills that some people are doing around the kitchen table with their children. This wasn't done for them. So we're really teaching them how to do it, and then helping them realize that education is the key. So even around their junior year, going like, okay, so you've done your classes, you've done the work. Now we got to get you connected with a professional mentor who can help guide you what you need to do next and how do you go next. Even teaching them, we've had a class a couple of weeks ago with an alumni, ecology, is an alum of KSU, the owner is, and her staff is so wrapped us around. And what has happened is we brought our kids in with their clothes and said, now how do you take this 2 or 3 things, add one thing to it, and now it's something that's professional. How do you do this?
That's an important skill set, right?
Yeah. So we're teaching them everything sometimes.
All right. Before we wrap, let's talk a little bit about the ways for businesses and individuals and organizations to plug in and help and support this effort. Let's walk through that a little bit. What are some ways to get that done?
So one, you can go to our website, care.kennesaw.edu. Click the picture with the cute little young lady with the KS on her shirt and go there, and you'll see all the different ways to help us. One is just be on our listserv, get our monthly emails. We send community emails every other month. But you'll also see on that page how to become a registered volunteer with us. And our volunteers, we try to do a volunteer opportunity for our community members every month if we can. And that could be, and then there's some, like we've had wonderful church groups who've baked brownies for us, and then they learn all of our rules around that, and they've done that. But we had, we just had, at our Ascend House on Merida campus, a group came out and they power washed the outside of the house and power washed and just cleaned up. And so our next one is we want to build a mud room because you got a bunch of kids walking in. You need them. So we've got a corner that we're going to make into a mud station. Like this is where you put your shoes and your coats. So that's what our next plan is. So all that kind of stuff, that's the easiest way to help. And then if someone but then we make it easy to donate to the pantry. We use Amazon. We use Amazon, so you can go on there on our Amazon wish list, and you can always see what we need in our pantry. So there's a lot of ways, and then there's always you can give. Some people said, I just want to give, and how can I give? And we have a ton of ways to give. You can give and adopt a student's rent. You can adopt their meal plan for the year, or you can just constantly give to the program and support us. But I just want to make sure people know that none of those donated dollars go to my salary or anything like that. I'm a state employee, and I get state funds for that. But the rest of everything we do goes to those students.
Wow. That website, once again, what's the kind of ground zero website for all that?
care.kennesaw.edu.
What an absolute delight to have you come in the studio this morning and talk about your work. Keep up the good work. Let's continue to follow this story. Wow. What an inspiring way to invest a Tuesday morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Until next time, this is Stone Payton for our guest today, Marcy Stidum with KSU CARE, and everyone here at the Business RadioX family saying we'll see you next time on Cherokee Business Radio.